Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. I think I am live. Like I said, I'm always live before I know for sure if I'm live when I do it on the computer this way. Anyways, here with you guys, and I am excited to be here. I'm excited for today's training. Just pulling up my notes really quickly. Okay. Well, I hope you guys are be here. And I hope you guys are looking forward to what I've got for you guys today. So I'm super excited, and I'm just going to dive in. If you guys are here, that's great. The recording will be available if you need to catch the replay as well. So today we are going to be talking about stepping into alignment with feeling courageous and imaginative so that you can create visual clarity on how you want your life to look, how you want things to feel, without letting like self-doubt, anxiety, and fears get in the way or keep you from achieving it, right? So we want to step into alignment with being courageous. We want to be able to be imaginative. We want to be able to trust ourselves so that we can put ourselves out there, so that we can create the relationship we want to have, so that we can create the business or the career that we want to have. We can create the home life that we want to have, right? So we can have all of these experiences so that our life can be in alignment. And so we're going to have to learn how to step into that alignment within ourselves first so that we can create it externally. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I hope you guys are excited and that this will be helpful. So I want to just start by telling you guys just a little bit of a story about like why I even know what I'm talking about here. So growing up, you know, and I think maybe a lot of you guys can relate to this, but growing up, I always loved being really creative. Like I loved to sing, I loved to dance, I loved to write songs and music, and like the talent shows were always like the thing that I wanted to do, right? I wanted to be in the talent shows. I wanted to be like or I wanted to be in like the theater classes, right? I wanted to do these things. I was always super intrigued by it, but I never did. I never did any of them. And I would always like find these new things, and I would always, when I would share like my talents, my gifts, and my creative abilities, and like the things that I discovered with people, but I just never would, right? And the reason is because I would get really excited or feel really intrigued by putting myself out there or doing things, but I always kind of talk to myself out of it. I would always feel like doing it better than me, or maybe they had more personality, or like the way that they expressed or explained themselves was so better than I could ever do it. So I was like, maybe I'll just sit this one out and somebody else can do a better job than me, and I just won't do it. So, so this is how I experienced like middle school, younger years. Like I would only ever do like talent shows or things like that if there was a group involved. And then this even led up into like my adult years. Like in my first business, I would never really put myself out there. I remember I go live one time because I did this like prize giveaway, and I was like, okay, I'll go live and I'll pull the names and I'll give you guys the prize. I wasn't teaching anything. I was literally just giving away prizes, and I wanted to lose my mind when I was going live to do that. So like putting myself, being seen, being in the center of attention means something that I was always intrigued by and something that I always wanted to be able to do. I lost my mind at the thought of doing it. It was just not something that I was comfortable with. But obviously I'm here live with you guys today. So I made it to the other side. So I'm going to teach you guys some today that really helped me step into this courageous and imaginative alignment so that I could be here, so that I could share my gifts, so that I could be here in front of you guys and do what I do. And it lights me up and I have a great time. So with that being said, after I learned how to do deep inner healing, right? So it's like all of my life, I've had all of these like gifts and these creations and this passion to just share, right? But I never would. Well, after my like big traumatic events and my body was starting to shut down, and I like was kind of forced into like heal or die situation, right? After I went through that and I did the research. I implemented what I learned. I even created some of my own based off of what I had learned from others in like meditation courses or books that I had been reading. I took what they said that didn't quite click or resonate, and I created my own unique framework, and it was a life changer. It made it so simple. It made it so quick. It made it like almost instantaneous healing, and I was blown away by it. And I was like, I have to show people what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I have to help them create this connection with present self so that they can feel safe to give their younger self or their inner child those past experiences, that younger self, what that inner self needs, so that the future self that you want to create, this future prosperous, fulfilling life, that future self, right? We want to create this fulfilling life where we feel in alignment, whatever that means for you, right? Some people it's money, some people it's just healthy relationships. It doesn't matter, right? Like whatever fulfillment means to you, we need a foundation for that future self to rise upon. So we need that stable connection to our present self so that we can be there for our inner if things are coming up, right? Like especially, if you guys are here, you guys have probably experienced childhood trauma of some sort, or like years, right? Like maybe it wasn't exactly childhood, but maybe in your young adult or your adult life, you've experienced some trauma in relationships or whatever it may be, but it's holding you back. And you able to kind of nurture those past experiences, give them what they need, reparent them so that they can get unstuck and move forward and stop living as if you're always living in this moment or waiting for that moment to re-happen. Because when we get traumatized, we get stuck in those situations, right? So we need to be able to connect to our present self, reparent and nurture our past self so that the foundation that our future self can build on has something stable to grow on. And we're not growing based off of fears or what society wants or what we think is going to be okay. It's from a genuine place of authenticity because we trust ourselves and we're there for ourselves and we're super connected to ourselves. So I hope that this is making sense so far. So after I learned all of these things and these processes for healing and it changed my life, I was like, I have to share this, and I couldn't let anything stop me, right? I couldn't let my fears, I couldn't let these excuses, I had to overcome this. So I was able to do this by being extremely honest about my fears and about being willing to call out any excuses that I was making, right? So my fears of embarrassment, my fears of being judged, being honest about my worries of not being good enough or being as good as somebody else, right? I had to really be honest about those thoughts, those feelings, those judgments, those fears. I had to write them down. I had to look at them. I had to face them. I had to face them clearly. Okay. And what I did, here's what I did that I feel is different than maybe what anybody else is doing or anybody else is at least teaching you to necessarily do in this simplicity form. So instead of trying to change my fears and feelings and try to, rationalize them or tell them why they don't need to feel that way, I stopped trying to change them and I took a moment to see if I could understand and see them differently. I wanted to know, like, why are you actually here? What do you need me to know? And are you helping me in any way, right? So what I found is underneath all of these fears of judgment and embarrassment were actually love. And the reason why I saw this love that the fears and the embarrassment and the worries had for me was because I realized they were just trying to protect me, right? They just wanted to keep me safe. And I experienced that as this like highest level of truth behind my fears. And I no longer wanted to change them, right? I decided that I liked them being my protector. I liked them keeping me safe. And I wanted to trust them. I wanted them to be on my team. So instead of me trying to work against them and constantly be out of flow or working against myself to get what I wanted to get done, to work with myself and maybe not fuck shit up, right? Like maybe listen to my fears or my concerns so that I could make sure that I was proceeding with caution and proceeding with the safest way to accomplish those goals so that we could both get what we wanted. And now I'm in alignment with myself and I'm being authentic in how I show up. I'm not showing up in a way that doesn't feel authentic to me because because we're playing it safe, right? So then I don't feel blocked in expressing myself. I don't feel blocked. I can get on video. I can do whatever I need to do to share myself with others, right? Because I'm no longer trying to change the fear. I'm instead working with the fear. I'm seeing for its truth, and I want it to be my teammate. I want that protection. I want that safety, right? And if I can take risks and put myself out there and share myself with the world in a way that I can take those risks with caution and clarity and protection and move slow, take risks, jump, but also make sure I have everything I need before I jump and I don't just jump out of excitement, right? And make a mistake or end up being in a place where I'm not where it's harder to get out of, right? So I don't believe in mistakes or bad decisions, which is what I will be talking in a minute. But I want to share with you guys, I feel like there's some myths around negative thoughts or fears or, these feelings that make us uncomfortable. I feel like there's some myths around them that I kind of want to break for you guys. So most self-help gurus or, meditation instructors trying to help you step into a more positive way of being. They're kind of teaching you to turn your negative or uncomfortable thoughts into the positive by affirming the exact opposite to be true, right? So it's if we are afraid or if we feel like we're not good enough or if we feel like, we don't have what it takes, right? We're just supposed to affirm we are good enough. We do have what it takes. We can do this, right? We're just supposed to affirm this over and over again and magically all of our problems will be solved. Well, I didn't find this to be true for myself. I was not able to just affirm the opposite and flip a switch and things worked out for me. Now, maybe for some people who don't have trauma or things that they need to work on because maybe they're extremely sensitive or they're empaths, right? So I am a highly sensitive empath and I do have extreme under my belt of life experiences. So for me, this affirmation of the opposite was more so like a band-aid or like a temporary fix. So I'm not saying that it wasn't helpful and that you shouldn't do this, but there was something. So in order for me to allow my gifts to come through when I'm sharing myself with everyone, I needed to give my fears permission, right? I needed to look at that negative. I needed to look at the uncomfortable, and I needed to give it permission to be exactly the way that it was. I needed to see it for its bigger truth, and I needed to give it permission to be exactly the way. So I hope you guys are hearing me. I hope you guys can feel that. How when you just give yourself permission to be the way that you are and to try to see it from a deeper perspective, how that no longer becomes a resistance to you achieving your dreams. It becomes a teammate in helping you get there in the quickest, safest, most optimal, cautious way, right? It's a totally different energy when you're working with yourself instead of trying to change or fix or resist yourself, right? So we don't want to change. We don't want to resist. We don't want to step into the complete opposite. We want to learn to embrace and work with the parts of us that we have, particularly the ones that make us uncomfortable, right? So I hope you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. So I find that if my clients are having this challenge, right? If I find that people are relating to this, I find that the number one challenge that it seems to boil down to is being able to just genuinely trust yourself, right? Just being able to genuinely trust yourself. To give you guys a quick solution that has helped me really build belief and trust in myself. So looking for mistakes, shortcomings, and what I mean by shortcomings is maybe you have information. For example, if you're in the entrepreneur space, right? Maybe you have something, a product or a service that you want to provide, but you don't have a business yet, right? Or maybe your business is brand new. And so you feel like you're not as good as someone else. Like for me, right? If I was using me as an example, I'm in the self-help mentoring business. So if I look at me and I try to compare myself to someone like Tony Robbins, I might be like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing, right? I need to just sit down and let Tony take care of it, right? So mistakes or shortcomings, like shortcomings being the things that we feel we're not a master at just yet, right? Like, or we're not as good as other people, or like where we might compare ourselves in situations, right? We need to stop. Number one, we need to stop saying, I make bad decisions, or stop telling ourselves, I don't know how to trust myself, or I'm unsure of myself, right? Like I'm unsure of what I want, right? And give ourselves a chance to make those decisions, to make those mistakes, and to just kind of brainstorm, what is it that you want, or what do you think you want? Because if we constantly tell ourselves, I make bad decisions and I'm unsure of myself, we're probably never going to make a game plan happen, which I actually plan next week to go live here in the group on setting boundaries and overcoming perfectionism and procrastination by making sure and we're making an aligned schedule, so that we're scheduling things to be in alignment with us, so that we can move forward in the way that's going to bring us to the future that we want, and not just doing what everybody else is telling us we should be doing. Our schedules and our priorities and our boundaries need to be in alignment, soul aligned. So I'm live on that next week, so you guys can get excited for that, hopefully. So what will help you is, number one, stop saying that you are making or that you are unsure of yourself, and just look at the possibilities of the opposite being true. And something that can help with that, seeing your doubts, your failures, and one step closer to success. Be okay with making mistakes. Be okay with it not working out. I mention a lot about like self-help gurus or business gurus, but that's because those are my mentors, right? So I don't know if any of you guys will be familiar or know who this is. But my client was telling me about Grant Cohen and how she was taking his course, and he's like a marketing expert, and he has this formula. It's called 10X, and I really loved it. She shared it with me, and so I thought that this fit here. Be willing to do it 10 times before it's actually valuable, right? And that's not always the case, but if you make a course, or if you build a product, or if you name something, or if you create something, or if you put yourself out there, or if you go into a relationship, right? If whether this is relation, or whether you're trying to improve your health, right? Try the habit, or do the thing, or write. If you're manifesting, right, you might, I will do this. Write it 10 times every day. Try it 10 times before it's actually worth it, right? So be willing to fail, be willing to make mistakes, because you're one step closer to success, right? Like, be willing to fail or make that mistake at least 9 times, because on the 10th one, you might reach, right? And here's the thing, if you can unlock this desire, if you can unlock a desire within you, you will be willing to fall over and over and over and over and over again. So I teach my clients to figure out their why, to figure out their mission. So that way you create a desire, right? So when you set goals, you're going to have to work through resistance, but you're additionally going to have to work through, like, why do you want it to begin with? Because that why, that desire is going to keep you coming back even when you fall, or, because you've already worked through the resistance, right? If you overcome your fears and your resistance, now we need an emotional driver, which is you going all the way, and to keep you continuing making decisions to move you forward instead of getting you stagnant, right? So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's training. I hope it was helpful. I don't know who's been here with me. If you guys missed today's training, because I know I came on live earlier than I normally do, because my daughter just started this week, so I had to change the time. So it's now 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I know that there's a little bit of a shift this week, but if you guys missed today's training, the replay will be available. The recording will be here for you guys, but I would love to know what you guys thought of today's training. If you guys have any questions or any feedback, I would love to hear them in the comments, and let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Again, we'll be back next week. And like I said, next week, I have a plan to talk about aligned productivity and aligned boundary setting and aligned priority setting so that you can feel clear in your vision moving forward. Got to get you to be courageous enough to be imaginative and a visionary to move you forward. So that's what today's all about. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next week. With all of that being said, and I don't think I see any comments as so we will be back here next week. If you guys need me for anything, just let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed today's training.